Hello, this is Darren Pulsipher, Chief Solution Architect of Public Sector at Intel, and welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology. On today's episode, we're going to talk about understanding employee burnout with Uzair Hussain, CEO of District Zero. Uzair, welcome to the show.
Darren, how are you? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, we talked a long time ago. How long ago was it when you first talked to me about your startup?
Wow.
6 months
It's
ago?
got at least six. I think we're nearing around 9, maybe.
9 months ago. Wow. And your hair is on fire or not? I mean, this is a startup. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, my hair is still intact. I got a few gray ones coming in.
That's awesome. I love it.
Still alive, still breathing.
That's awesome. Tell us, Uzair, a little bit about your background, where you're coming from, and then we'll dive into a little bit about what you guys do and why employee burnout is so important.
Yeah, definitely. How far back should I go in my background?
I just lay it all out, man.
Well, I guess we'll go as early as birth then. I was born in Pakistan, Karachi. My parents brought my older brother and myself here to the States when I was about 4 years old. Grew up in Chicago, particularly the suburbs called Naperville. Was lucky enough to go through K-12 in Naperville as well. And eventually, majority of my professional life was in sales, consumer experiences at the point of sale. And about 10 years ago, I found myself deep in product development. And so today, here I am working on products and I love it.
So what made you start your own company?
Stubbornness.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, quite frankly, I got frustrated. I was working a lot in, retail and again, consumer sales, right? And when I was younger, in my early 20s, I was really trying to break that plateau into corporate life and, just hundreds and hundreds of rejections and, just certain things just didn't make sense. And eventually it just got to the point where, at that point I had tried a few of projects of my own. And eventually I just thought, okay, I gotta jump in the deep end. So yeah, stubbornness definitely got me.
Yeah, that's good. So why did you pick specifically wellness? What led you to that?
Yeah, so, wow, I mean, my life has definitely been a fun journey. My first major project was called Clue, and it was an alarm clock. And our team was working on this consumer alarm clock experience for about 10 years. When I was at Apple, I had learned when the App Store had come out, what it really took to have a software or a utility value on the home screen. And I was really driven by these high impact applications. So I decided to focus on an alarm clock after a lot of iteration and pivoting. And yeah, about 10 years in, so many integrations, learned a lot about how to wake people up in different personalized ways, whether it's, you would think it's like some people have some interesting ways they like to get up, but we did fail at our mission, which was to help people wake up focused and motivated. We did wake them up, but they kept snoozing. And so, we failed at our mission because that individual isn't motivated. And we actually found that, motivation starts as early as the night prior. And, if you talk to folks, sometimes they'll say, I don't need an alarm clock to wake up. Those are the most motivated individuals. They have a routine in place. And so when I was about a couple of years ago, decided to help out some students in 8th grade and high school at my local schools here in Chicago after like a 10-year stint in California and kind of acknowledging that Clue didn't really work out. It was sort of therapeutic, just being with the younger generation. And it was quite clear that in first period of class or right in the morning, this was a much larger problem than I had even seen. And it was progressively getting worse and worse. I had my own wellness growth that I was going through. So I had understood the impact of psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy and motivation and productivity. And, it was one of those aha moments where I just thought, if I wanted to really make an impact, how could I do that? Where would I want to do that? And that's where I found myself in what's called quote unquote wellness,
That's pretty
yeah.
awesome. You took a personal experience and turned it into something pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey, and it's just getting started. Like, that's the crazy thing, is the deeper we go, the more we learn, and you just realize there's so much surface level fluff, in the industries around some of these tools. So yeah, it's quite motivating for me to even just work on this stuff day to day. It's quite enriching.
And it's really timely with COVID, because all the statistics are coming back. COVID has made us more productive, right? Because we're staying at home, but now we're starting to see the ramifications of working 60 hours a week at home, and not having a separation between home and work anymore. Burnout is really a big problem.
Yeah, it's bad. How much to unpack there? It's even at home, just having a separate environment makes such a big impact. If you're in the same room too long, or if you don't go for a breather or a walk, it's challenging not having human energy around as well. Yeah, it's a big problem. I'm excited to dig into this issue, because I don't know if everyone has really understood the ramifications of COVID and what's really going to unravel over the next 6 months to a year. This traumatic experience it's going to affect productivity. It'll also affect social relationships. We're already seeing some of that. People are stressed at home. They're relaxed, not having to commute, but it does get cumbersome a little bit.
Yeah, get me back in that traffic jam. I need it.
I think you
it's
had
kind of
I
strange,
heard that
but it's true.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think you had mentioned it in a prior podcast where, you had that kind of decompression, right? The
I
commute
did.
home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so true. The commute, it that separation of environment, it really, it just mentally, it helps us get into the mood. It's it's funny. I think about like the Philips Hue integration we did with the alarm clock years ago, and now it's just so much more important. Time boxing, setting a mood, setting a motif in your room. It really does make a difference.
Let's talk about District Zero. So your brainchild, right? You took all of this learning that you got on how to motivate people in the morning, which I think is fascinating. And now you've applied this to K-12, to students, kids. So tell us a little bit about your company and what you guys do.
Thanks for asking. Our mission at District Zero is to equip K-12 students and learners with whole learner capabilities. And that's so students and kids can manage difficult emotions, which we call blockers. It comes from agile terminology. And, by managing these difficult emotions, students and learners, they can recoup their path. They can recoup their focus and motivation. So, how do we do this? It's actually quite novel. It's a survey system, reporting system, and resources, content resources. And what we do is we use the power of natural language processing, sentiment analysis to do this at scale. So currently what teachers have done, or in COVID world, what teachers do to try to help their students right now is hooking up Google Forms to then Google Sheets, and then trying to control F, looking for negative words and key phrases. It's a part of their job. So teachers and administrators have to do this because of risk. But what the unfortunate impact, the byproduct is the teacher and the administrators become very negative Nancy, if you will. And positive reinforcement is what we need right now more than ever. So what we're doing is reducing that load for the teachers and administrators, saying, hey, this tool, set it up, walk away, go back to teaching. This system will then start to uncover blockers and pain points that your students are going through. It'll help resolve those through resources and quick remedies. And if the student needs further support, then the system triages over to the correct individuals, keeping the teacher and the administrator informed. It's
like
allowed
school
the
counselors,
teacher,
right? Things like that, right? It helps, like,
yeah, counselors, social workers, even third-party mental health therapists. You know, I guess, you know, students have been taken from 0 to 100 historically, meaning, you know, if someone is frustrated or if a student is showing anxiety, typically the process right now is forward that student to the social worker. And the social worker then, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of prescriptions for all types of pills, right? And so there's no middle ground to reduce that fight or flight. And so, yeah, that's where we focus. We say, all right, we're gonna, yeah, go ahead.
It sounds to me like we only catch the kids that are having problems in school when it's too late, right? That's
Absolutely.
what I'm hearing.
That's what's happening.
All right,
Yeah,
so with your guys' tool, now you're triaging thing, you're intervening in that middle ground when things start going south. Maybe there's problems at home. Maybe there's problems at school with bullying. Maybe there's, I can't even imagine how many problems there are. Now, I can't imagine. I have 10 kids. So
wow.
They've all gone through school, except I got 3 at home that are going to start. All 3 will be in high school next year. So I've gone through the gamut with my kids, and you know, ups and downs all through school. So I understand there's a lot of pressure on these kids, and I love what you guys are doing. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't know you had 10 kids. That's awesome. That's so cool. I grew up at I definitely could see that. I grew up in 4 total brothers, so I have 3 brothers, and I thought that was like a decent amount. But you know, growing up, for what were our issues that held us back? You know, coming from Pakistan or an immigrant family, right? Like, it could be anything from, I don't know if my friends are accepting me, or I can't focus because I have the sniffles today. You know, and it would just be these simple nuances throughout the day that would just totally shift the focus, right? And it would impact the score, the assessment, whatever productivity task was going on at the moment. And so you learn that everybody has these simple impediments throughout the day. And if you just soundboard it, address it, build empathy, then it's quite exciting when you actually see a human get recorrected and redriven towards a mission. And then they just keep going. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
So how, you guys have been running this, started for what, 2 years now?
Yeah, so we started doing early pilots. Yeah, we started doing early pilots like right pre-COVID, actually. And then we had pilots going on during COVID. And that's when we had started to build out the company and form the company and just productize everything we had learned. So we just launched our platform in August of this past year.
Wow.
So
So
it was literally
timely.
right in the heart. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what they say, right? It's like timing is everything.
well, and you nailed the timing on this. So how has it been for these schools that have used it? Are you seeing what you were expecting? I think COVID's a different beast, right? Because in Chicago, I'm guessing they did online school for the first bit. Are they back in school yet in Chicago?
Yeah. Students are back, and it's hybrid. So, there's the option for students to either be in class. So right now, what we've noticed, it's about a third, 2/3 split. So 2/3 are staying at home remote, and a third are in the classroom physically. So that could give some quick ratio. What we're seeing from the impact of the system, so it's interesting because the system works at different levels of K-12. So in social and emotional learning, right, which is when we talk about wellness, we go a little bit deeper and we look at these core competencies for the whole learner, and they're called social and emotional learning. That's like self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills. We've learned that social emotional learning only works when everyone does it. You can't give surveys. You can't give surveys to students and expect social and emotional learning to just happen at your school. There's this empathy element, and it's administration is trying to recover empathy between principals and teachers, or administration and principals. There's community element where the superintendent and the board of education is hoping to recover empathy with parents and the taxpayers. And most importantly, where we see the impact is between teacher and student. There's been a hard loss of connection between the teacher and the student. And to put in perspective, pretty much 99% of cameras are off in class. And it's sad, but I remember just last week in one of the classes I've been sitting in on, I try to just be in classes all the time. I got so internally emotional when a student turned the camera on. After about 3-4 days of us all working together, it showed me that this student was starting to build trust, and they were starting to share and open up. And since then, that student has just been participating so much more in class. And that's sort of the aha moments. Another story, a teacher, he found depression alerts in the check-in, decided to have a conversation with the student after class. Just a simple, hey, how's it going? Student starts opening up. Next thing you know, they see each other in the hallway 2 periods later, and they wave to each other, something that they would have never done, in the past. And now that same student, it was crazy. The same student turned in homework assignments, brought the letter grade up by 2 letters within a week of running District 0. And, that just, it kind of blows your mind a little bit.
Well, I mean, you should be really proud of yourself. I mean, you probably saved one kid, and just saving one kid, that's a big deal. That is a really big deal. So don't get me starting to cry. I can't cry on my show because I know how that is with my kids. I've had teachers that intervened and helped them out through hard times. So I understand how that works. So how can you take this wonderful work that you've done with students? How can we apply that to business now? Because we're starting to see the beginnings of mental health issues or burnout, whatever you want to call it, in our employee base. It's when I've talked to a lot of CIOs, it's the number one thing they worry about today is burnout of their employees. So how can I take what you've done with K-12 and apply it to business?
Yeah. I mean, focus is key. That's what I've learned. By focusing in K-12, what we found was these deep insights around measurement of, if you want to call, wellness, right? And we found these sweet spots around how to, in the tween demographic. So these are really frustrated individuals, right? And if you can drive impact in that age bracket, then the other ages sort of start to fall in place, especially in the consumer journey. I had learned from my past roles that consumer from the tween demographic, right? You grow them into college and post-college, and they'll bring that device into the workplace and so on and so forth. So how can we do what we've done is started experimenting on our own team. We've started to use our own product. We've started to drink our own Kool-Aid, and it's forced us to have these hard conversations around what's important for us, in the day-to-day. And we found that the product is really cool to use, with ourselves. But yeah, it just, once you start using your own product, you start to understand what the real needs are. And, in business, it's building trust. If CIOs, if C-level stakeholders are wondering how to do this, it's not going to be by sending your employees a survey or giving them a membership to a third-party mental health platform. That's very similar to in K-12, right? 0 to 100. You didn't give any support in between. And so our product, we're excited this year. It seems like we'll be able to maybe allow more organizations to start playing with this application sooner than later. We've also seen the same desire in healthcare. Burnout is
I can't
last
imagine.
I read I think it's $4 or $5 billion loss in medical burnout, resident burnout, nurse burnout. So employees, it's the same logic. That's the cool thing, right? Is by focusing in one sector of the market, we can now grow the same technology into corporate, healthcare, even government, Veterans Affairs, suicide prevention. And, at that level, you're getting into, I guess that's the benefit of working with technology, right? Is you have high, strict security requirements, but then if you have the right infrastructure in place, your technology can expand very fast. So that's the way we see it, is expanding into those eventually. So.
Wow. What a great insight. You guys hit this right at the perfect time. So yeah, the stars have aligned for you guys. I'm really excited to see how you guys continue to progress. It's been exciting watching you from sidelines a little bit. It's cool. Great tool. Thanks for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you liked our episode, go ahead and give us 5 stars on your favorite podcast or video streaming site. You can also find out more on embracingdigital.com. Until next time, keep moving forward and do something wonderful.